talk some more about this case. I don't know if the prosecutors are trying to lose on purpose, or they're just inept, or they're ignorant. They thought they had a stronger case than they did. Because I don't see how this trial doesn't end with him getting a lesser charge of manslaughter or an acquittal or a hung jury. I mean, the hung jury one seems more and more possible, the most plausible way this thing turns out. Because, I mean, we're still on the prosecution's witnesses, but these witnesses, I think Derek Chauvin's attorney is really, really smart. The way he twists their own words, not twist, but he takes their own testimony and makes it good for the defense. You know, I mean, the one, I think it was the chief, his testimony. You know, he was saying basically when the prosecution questioned him, he's basically saying, yeah, Derek Chauvin, that wasn't the right way to do things, and he was wrong, and blah blah blah. Well, then the defense attorney goes and talks to him and says, well, have you ever held a suspect down? Like, yeah. Have you ever held him down until the paramedics arrived or whoever else arrived or helped arrive? Yeah. I mean, what is the procedure? You know, if a guy's being unruly, it's like, well, obviously you have to protect yourself from him, and you also have to protect anybody else from him if he's acting crazy like that. If that means you got to restrain him, fine. And, you know, according to the law, he could have used a taser on him. The way he was acting, didn't want to get into the fucking car, didn't want to be handcuffed. You know, especially when they finally did get him into the car and he really started fighting and started thrashing around like a fucking wild animal. At that point, Chauvin could have just tased him if he wanted to, you know? And maybe that would have been the better play, because then he wouldn't have had to put his knee on the guy's neck. Could have just tased him. But, I mean, yeah. So it's like, well, then, so he didn't tase him, so he's actually using not as harsh fucking, you know, techniques to fucking control the suspect. Not to mention, I mean, there's the training video and everything. Now, I mean, what they're debating today is like, well, was his knee on his neck the whole time? Was he putting, I mean, it's kind of things you don't really know as far as was he putting lethal pressure on the guy's neck? Oh, well, he died. It's like, yeah, but again, there's 2 fucking autopsies. Now, the first autopsy said he died because he was overdosing. You know, he had a pre-existing heart condition. He didn't die as asphyxiation. He died because his heart stopped. Okay? So, I don't know. That one's pretty damning for the fucking prosecution. But then, the family of George Floyd went and got an independent one after the county autopsy. And of course, the independent one says, no, he died of asphyxiation. So which are we supposed to believe? Are we supposed to believe that one or the other? I don't know. I really know. It's just funny how the family goes to get a second autopsy, right? They didn't like the first one. And then a second autopsy says what they want to hear. It's just kind of funny. I mean, I think it'd be interesting to find out who that second doctor was that did the second autopsy. How he's connected, you know? I bet he's connected somehow. But anyway, that's just conjecture. So you got 2 autopsies. You have the chief saying Derek Chauvin didn't do the right thing, but then on cross-examination he says, well, I mean, sometimes you gotta hold a guy down, you know, and sometimes you have to hold him down for an extended period of time. Okay. And then the whole thing with the passenger, okay? This guy basically admits that he didn't want to testify because if he has to answer questions where they say, well, did you sell the drugs to fucking Derek Chauvin? And he's under oath. You know, the girlfriend said he did. So, I mean, really, that's what it is. He did sell the drugs, obviously. Otherwise, he would just testify. He wouldn't be worried about himself. It's funny how before the trial, he was, oh, I'm going to be the voice of George Floyd. But now that the consequences could be real, all of a sudden he wants to plead the fifth. He wants no part of it. Well, I think that's telling. Yeah, he did supply the drugs, you know. Yeah, he is kind of responsible. That's why he doesn't want to testify, because he doesn't want to incriminate himself. No, any intelligent person, hopefully there's intelligent people on the jury, are seeing this and going, you know, there's too many things that say George Floyd was overdosing on drugs. There's just too much evidence there. Again, I don't see how this thing. I don't think you can convict him of murder. I don't think there was any intent to murder George Floyd. You know, I don't think there was anything like that. They didn't even know he was overdosing. I mean, George Floyd could have easily stopped this if he had just told the officer, you know what, I swallowed drugs. But of course he didn't want to do that because he didn't want to go to jail. But, you know, I mean, if he had just not swallowed the drugs, if he had just not passed that $20 note, if he had just not resisted arrest. Now, whether or not he swallowed the drugs, if he did swallow the drugs, which it's obvious he swallowed the drugs, how did he get 3 times a lethal dose? He was going to die regardless of what the officers did. So I think that clears Derek Chauvin of murder. You could say manslaughter, and I think in the end, I mean, I think a hung jury is the most possible outcome. But if not a hung jury, they're gonna convict him of manslaughter, which at the end of it, that might be the most fair thing to do. You know? Yeah, you should have took your knee off the guy's neck. I agree with that. You should have took your knee off the guy's neck. Even though, again, 2 autopsies. The first autopsy says he died because he's overdosing. The second one says he died because Derek Chauvin was putting his knee on his head. Again, which one are we listening to? You can't listen to both because they contradict each other. So which one are we listening to? That'd be my question, you know? I mean, if I was Derek Chauvin, I would fucking have my lawyer ask that. So which autopsy are we going on? You can't go on both. They contradict each other. Which one are we considering the official record? You know? A lot of questions this defense attorney, I think, should be asking. I mean, and they're gonna call their own fucking professionals, because this is still all the prosecution's witness. The defense gonna call their own professionals and say, no, this is gonna contradict everything that the prosecution said. So really, what are we left with? Because a lot of that's just conjecture, you know? Did he use too much force? Did he not use too much force? Did his knee contribute to George Floyd's death? Did it not? Was George Floyd overdosing? Was he not? Again, I think that should have been a rule from the start, especially the autopsy. Said you can't lie about the toxicology, because the toxicology shows he had drugs in his system and lethal doses amounts of it. So can't fucking deny that. The only difference is the reason why he died. Again, what are we going to listen to? The first one or the second one? That's why I'm saying it's going to end in a hung jury, and then all hell's going to break loose. You know, even though a hung jury, that's not the end of it. That means they have to have another trial. Do you think Black Lives Matter is going to wait for another trial? No, they're not. They're going to burn down that city. I mean, that lady went on fucking Twitter and fucking posted a direct threat to Black Lives Matter activists. If Derek Chauvin's not convicted of murder, don't be surprised if buildings are on fire. And she basically said that. So, yeah, that city's gonna burn because he's not gonna get. If he gets convicted of murder, I think that's just a travesty because I don't think he intended to murder the guy. No. You can say negligent homicide, manslaughter, sure. I would accept that. You know? But that's not going to be enough to appease the protesters. It's not going to be enough to appease all these race hustlers. It's not. And they'll go on and on and on and on about it. Blah, blah, blah. Make a big deal. You know? It's just funny, the open bias. And they think America doesn't see this, you know? The white guy goes and shoots up the spa. Oh my God, he's a white supremacist. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah? Did this because he hates Asian people. Like, no, he did it because he's a fucking nut who thought the only way to cure his sexual addiction was to kill the people that the prostitutes. And that's fucked up. But that's the reason why he did it. Guy in Colorado. Oh, he went off as soon as they saw a picture. Oh, it's another white guy. Turns out it wasn't a white guy. Turns out it was a guy from Syria, right? Islamist. Oh, quickly how that story just disappeared. It was front page news for 3 days and then boom, gone. Now, if it had actually been a white guy that did it because of a white supremacy, that'd still be on repeat right now as we speak. The guy that rammed the car into the police officers. Funny, that got like 1 day of coverage. Why? Well, because he was a black guy, who, by the way, is an adherent of the Nation of Islam, who, by the way, as an organization, is one of the most racist religions there is. You know? And then Louis Farrakhan's on camera hundreds of times saying racist shit. I mean, the Southern Poverty Law Group, whatever, they consider them a terrorist organization. So, again, that got no coverage, right? Gee, the Capitol riots that happened, that got fucking... Look, they're still talking about that. But gee, the black guy fucking kills 2 police officers? Nothing. And now this latest one, this ex-football player. How long is this going to get covered for? This guy went out and killed 5 people. Now, without really knowing all the facts, but a little bit of stuff that came out, the guy was obviously nuts, right? And he killed 5 white people. But where's the outrage for that? Where are the people calling that black supremacy? You know? I don't think he killed those people because he hates white people. I think the guy was fucking off his rocker, right? And that's probably what's going to turn out to be. Again, we'll never know the true motive because he killed himself. Really, the story with all these headlines really should be mental health, because the mental health of these people, you know, that guy that just killed 5 people, the guy that did the Capitol thing, the guy that did the thing in Colorado, the guy that did the thing in Atlanta. I quickly forgot. Remember Las Vegas? That fucking nut. Mental health, man. That's the biggest crisis in America. Yet nobody wants to talk about it. Oh, it's because there's too many guns out there, and it's because there's white supremacists running them up. How are we going to ever fix these problems if the media themselves aren't willing to face the facts? And that's really, I mean, what's driving all this crazy shit is really the media. That's what's driving it, because they're not just reporting the news. Now it's all conjecture. I mean, to the point where people on Twitter, they go out and start posting shit on Twitter. People that have blue check marks, that have fucking thousands and thousands of followers, saying shit that's not even true. Unreal. Just unreal. Unreal, this world we live in, you know? I think the one they're gonna go to is like, Donald Trump caused this. Like, Donald Trump did not fucking tell you guys to just lose your fucking collective mind. You guys did that all on your own. Just because he got elected, you guys lost your collective mind. And still riding on that. Still right. The man's not even in office anymore. He's not even fucking relevant anymore. Really, he's not. And yet, he's still in a news cycle. Still in a news cycle. I mean, that's how much they fucking just, again, for 4 fucking years, they lived off of that. You know, and they still don't want to let it go because they realize if they do that, then they might actually have to do some real news. It's like, yeah, it's going from like heroin to fucking aspirin, you know? They're still hooked on that heroin. That was Donald Trump. And they just don't want to let it go. And it's gone to the point where it's corrupted people's minds. But hey, this is our country, man. This is the world we live in now. All we can do is just take care of ourselves and not worry that half the country are fucking idiots.